I still remember the exact vibration of my phone when that message came in. It was short, cruel, and sharp enough to cut through every excuse I had been making for her. Enjoy poverty. That was it. No łódź, no explanation. Just those 2 words from the woman I thought I would marry. I'm telling this story now, not because I enjoy reopening old wounds, but because sometimes the truth takes time to reveal itself. And when it does, it changes everything you thought you knew about yourself. I grew up believing I was ordinary. Not tragic, not special, just another man trying to survive. My father was a quiet, hard-working person who fixed machines for a living, and my mother was the kind of woman who could stretch a single meal into 3 without complaining. We didn't have much, but we had stability. Or at least I thought we did. When my parents died within a year of each other in my early 20s, my entire world shrank overnight. No inheritance, no safety net, just a small rented apartment and a pile of unanswered questions about how to survive alone. That was around the time I met her. She walked into my life like sunlight, confident, ambitious, and always talking about the future. She wanted big things: luxury cars, overseas vacations, penthouses with city views. I wanted peace, security, and a life where I didn't have to check my bank balance before buying groceries. Somehow, we convinced ourselves that love would bridge that gap. At first, she said she admired my simplicity. She called me grounded and real. She liked that I didn't show off, that I was content with little. But admiration slowly turned into impatience. She started comparing me to others, especially men who had money. Every dinner with her friends felt like a silent judgment. Their boyfriends talked about investments and businesses while I talked about work schedules and saving enough to maybe buy a small house one day. I worked hard, long hours, double shifts when available. I never wasted money, never partied, never chased luxury. Everything I earned went into survival and a small savings account I hoped would one day mean freedom. She, on the other hand, wanted visible progress. She wanted proof that her time with me was worth it. Then came him, a millionaire. At least that's what she called him. A man with expensive watches, a flashy car, and a lifestyle that looked like it was pulled straight from social media fantasies. She didn't even try to hide her interest. Suddenly, I was boring. My dreams were too small. My life was going nowhere. The day she left, she didn't cry. She didn't hesitate. She told me she deserved more and that love without money was just another kind of poverty. Later that night, while I was sitting alone in the dark, staring at walls that suddenly felt too close, my phone buzzed. That message appeared. Enjoy poverty. I won't pretend I was strong. I broke. For weeks, I barely functioned. I went to work on autopilot, came home, ate whatever was cheapest, and slept without dreams. Every time I saw couples or luxury ads, it felt like the world was mocking me. I replayed her words again and again until they became part of my own thoughts. Then my body started betraying me. It began with exhaustion, so deep it felt like gravity had doubled. Then dizziness. Then pain that came without warning. I ignored it at first because ignoring pain is what poor people do when they can't afford to slow down. But one day, I collapsed at work. The next thing I remember was a white ceiling and the steady beep of machines. Doctors ran tests. Many tests, blood work, scans, questions that felt strangely detailed. They asked about my family history, about my parents, about things I didn't have answers to. I told them my parents were gone, that I didn't know much beyond that. That's when their tone changed. They started treating me differently. Not urgently, not casually, but carefully. One evening, a senior doctor came into my room with a file thicker than anything I'd ever seen related to me. He sat down and asked me a question that didn't seem connected to my health at all. He asked if I had ever been adopted. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it sounded absurd. I told him no. My parents were my parents. He nodded slowly and said that biologically, that wasn't entirely true. The next few days felt unreal. I learned that the tests they ran didn't just show illness. They revealed genetic markers that were extremely rare. Markers linked to a family that was, according to records, very powerful and very wealthy. A family that had been searching for a missing child for decades. I thought it was a mistake, a coincidence. something pulled from a movie plot. But the evidence kept stacking up. DNA tests confirmed it. Documents surfaced. Old hospital records, sealed adoptions, names I had never heard but somehow felt connected to. My parents, the ones who raised me, were not my biological parents. They had taken me in under circumstances they never spoke of, possibly to protect me, possibly because they were asked to. They loved me, raised me, and never once made me feel like I didn't belong. But the truth was, I came from somewhere else entirely. As my health stabilized, another reality began to unfold. Representatives started visiting. Lawyers, doctors with different attitudes. People who addressed me with a level of respect I wasn't used to. I learned that my biological family owned assets I couldn't even comprehend. Companies, properties, foundations, wealth that had been quietly waiting, frozen in legal structures, pending confirmation of my existence. I wasn't just recovering from an illness. I was waking up to a life I never knew was mine. At night, alone in my hospital room, I thought about her, about that text, about how she measured a man's worth by what he could buy. I wondered what she would say now if she knew the truth. Then I realized something important. It didn't matter. The discovery didn't erase the pain she caused, but it did expose something far more valuable than revenge. I had lived my entire life believing I was poor, and still I had worked hard, loved deeply, and stayed honest. If I could do that with nothing, then whatever I was about to gain would not define me. It would only reveal who truly deserved to stand beside me. When I was discharged, my life did not suddenly turn into a celebration. There were meetings, decisions, legal processes, and responsibilities that felt overwhelming. Wealth, I learned quickly, comes with its own kind of weight. People looked at me differently now, some with admiration, some with calculation. News travels fast in certain circles. Somehow, it reached her. One evening, months after that cruel message, my phone buzzed again. Her name lit up the screen for the first time since she left. I didn't open it immediately. I let it sit there, vibrating softly, as if unsure whether it still belonged in my life. When I finally read her message, it was long, apologetic, full of explanations about confusion, pressure, mistakes. She said she had heard about my situation, about my success, about who I really was. She said she missed me. She said she wanted to talk. I stared at the screen for a long time, not feeling anger, not even satisfaction, just clarity. The man she left was the same man reading that message. The only difference was that the world had finally changed its opinion of him. I typed a reply, then erased it. Typed again, erased again. In the end, I sent only one sentence. I told her I hoped she found what she was looking for. Then I blocked the number. My life today is stable, comfortable, and yes, wealthy by most standards. But that is not the victory. The real victory is knowing that when I had nothing, I still had integrity. I still had love to give. And when everything was taken from me emotionally, I didn't become bitter enough to lose myself. If this story meant something to you, if it reminded you that your value is not decided by someone else's standards or by what you currently have, then share it, reflect on it, and remember this. Sometimes life strips you down not to punish you, but to reveal who you truly are when the truth finally comes out.